Welcome to the Attractions Group podcast. This is episode 106. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir. How you doing this evening, Don?
Ryan, I'm doing great. It's an exciting time of the year. You see all the parks making their different announcements for 2025. You've got all the parks out there. They're announcing what they're doing for the Halloween season. So it's always an exciting time of year for me. How about you? How you been?
I've been good. I went on a mini trip, shall we say, a couple hours away to Holiday World. Ran into you there.
You did,
National
yes.
Roller Coaster.
That was a great time, wasn't it?
That was so fun. It was the voyage at night, let alone trimless. Chef's kiss. I mean, it's so chaotic. And it's funny because, to be quite frank, it seems like with the voyage, for me, it's kind of hit or miss. It's either I love it 90% of the times, and I don't love it so much 10% of the time. And it was running on all cylinders Friday night. And then I was kind of worried, like, oh man, is it going to be, because I don't remember ever riding it trimless before. But I was like, if they pull the plugs on the trims, is it going to be super rough on the second half? Nope. It was awesome. It was like, oh, that triple down.
You're going to remember those rides, those trimless rides forever on that. And for me, the voyage, I love it. Can't get enough of it. I made a post on my X the other day about it where I said, this ride's a problem for me. Can't get enough of it. I think that, when you look at wooden coasters, I think that now is for me, it's the pinnacle of wooden roller coasters. But what I also like about it, because of how relentless it is and intense and everything, that it shows me that I can still, do what I always did, riding roller coasters and riding them a lot, that I'm still able to do it with that ride.
Yeah. Well, Don, if you had to pick a favorite thing, before we get into it, Apple, Google, Spotify, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, and you should be, hit subscribe, hit like, hit a little bell notification, follow us on X, attractions_GRP. Cool. We got the fine print out of the way. But besides roller coasters, you've got a pretty big passion for another type of, so we say, transportation at theme parks. Tell us about that.
I do, and we're talking about steam trains. Several amusement theme parks around the world offer exceptional steam train rides. They blend that nostalgia with scenic views and immersive experiences. So I thought for this episode, Ryan, of the Attractions Group podcast, that we could talk about the top 14 steam train rides in the industry. What are you want to do this? What are your thoughts on that?
No, let's do something else. Nope, totally kidding, because I'm so excited to talk about some of these. What's the first one?
Well, let's start with Dollywood Express at Dollywood in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
I'm going to try to keep this short because I could talk about the Dollywood Express all day, to be honest with you. It's about a 20-minute ride. So it's worth your time. It's some trains are like 5 minutes or whatever. This is 20 minutes. It's coal powered. It's got that smell that is such a dirty smell, but it's so like, it makes you so happy because it makes you think of Dollywood, really. I can't get enough of the Dollywood Express. And they do that thing during Christmas too, where they have like the up on the loop, they have that light package up there, putting the lights down on the ground. It's so cool.
And we're talking about a 5-mile loop on this ride. So it's, I think when you're talking about steam trains, I'd put this at the pinnacle too, as the number one steam train out there, the Dollywood Express. So moving on, number 2, the Disneyland Railroad at Disneyland in Anaheim, California.
Yeah, so the Disneyland Railroad opened in 1955. It's a steam-powered train that circles the park. It offers a unique perspective. It also has like a show element too, from what I understand. I have not gotten to ride this yet, but you go into a show building, right?
Yes, and it is, it's got iconic scenes, such as the Grand Canyon. It blends entertainment, as you mentioned, with the transportation. some of the historical photos of Disneyland. It has Walt Disney, sitting there as the engineer, with the engineer hat and everything on with the trains. So there's a lot to love about this attraction, the Disneyland Railroad.
Cool. Next up, we're going to where?
Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri. We're talking about the Wilderness Express.
Yeah, you get to go on a journey through the Ozark Mountains. It's an authentic steam train. So it's very similar to the Dollywood Express in that regard. But, for Dollywood's sister park, this is such a beautiful tribute. Tell me more about this train, Don. I have not been to Silver Dollar City.
It's been a while since I've been there, but the ride features a playful, interactive storyline. You've got bandits and other surprises, along the course. It makes it more than just a scenic journey. So when you're talking about, some of the best steam trains, in North America at amusement and theme parks, you have to talk about Wilderness Express at Silver Dollar City.
Yeah. Next up.
This is one that not many people are going to know about, but Thunder Mountain Railroad. It's at Heritage Park Historical Village in Calgary, Alberta. Now, that's a long way away, but this one is it's special.
Yeah, it takes riders through a historic village, and it's a steam train experience, much like the others. But yeah, so this goes through different, I wouldn't say show elements, but it's like it goes through an old town and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, a recreation of a historical, village. Maybe what the Kings Island Miami Valley Railroad would have been like, back in the 70s and the 80s for those that remember back then, with that storytelling component to it. But this is another one, not many people that you and I would know or that listen to this podcast, will have been to Calgary, Alberta, and have experienced this. But, it's another one that's a good one and very notable.
It'd be fun to ride that like in the snow for like a Christmas event. That'd be kind of fun. All right. Where are we heading next?
Well, we're going to go to Knoebels Scenic Train at Knoebels Amusement Park.
Yeah, classic stream train journey through a forested area. And it's like it's a smaller scale ride, but it's a peaceful ride through the woods, and you go over a cool little bridge there.
You do. Beautiful views of the park, the natural surroundings. There's a reason why, guests of all ages love this attraction at Knoebels. Very tranquil atmosphere, just again, perfect for all ages.
Yeah, it looks really cool. And I like those little trains that, you sit in and like your whole upper body is out of the top of the train, but then you go around. I just think that's so fun. Next up. So this is a sleeper.
Next up. Yeah, Cedar Point and the Lake Erie Railroad at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. One of my favorites.
Yeah, it's fun. It's so say clouded out by the fantastic roller coasters they have there that nobody talks about this ride. And honestly, I didn't ride it until like 5 years ago. I had no idea.
My favorite ride there.
Really? I had no idea about
Seriously.
Boneville. For those of you who haven't ridden this thing, you need to get off this put on this podcast in your car in a safe manner and drive to Cedar Point to ride the the Cedar Point and Lake Erie Railroad. There's a part where like they have like skeletons putting out fires, and it's just so cool. And I had no idea about all this stuff.
It's unexpected too.
No.
Like, yeah, I mean, it's unexpected when you ride it. Everybody's like, "Oh, what's this?" And then you ride it again. And but every time you ride the Cedar Point and Lake Erie Railroad and you go through that Boneville area, you spot something that you didn't see before. When I said it's my favorite ride there, I'm not kidding. I was parked. The train makes a stop, right by Steel Vengeance in that area of the park. And while they're unloading and new guests are getting on everything, I looked over at Steel Vengeance. I posted on my X and I just said, this ride was greater than Steel Vengeance. And some people thought I was kidding, but others agreed with me too. I mean, this is just a special ride. It's can't miss if you go to Cedar Point. I mean, you get enamored with all the hardware there with the roller coasters in the boardwalk area, but make sure you experience a ride or two on this because it's another one that it's just one of the best steam train rides that you're going to find anywhere in North America.
Yeah.
Very picturesque.
Very picturesque, yeah. So this next one should be very near and dear to both of us, and I don't know if you remember why or not. What's the next one?
Well, it's the Tweetsie Railroad. It's at Tweetsie Railroad in Blowing Rock, North Carolina. So tell us, Ryan, why this one is so special.
If my memory serves me correctly, the Tweetsie Railroad was featured in the first ever Pick Six.
It was.
Yeah.
You are right.
Yeah, so it's a Western
We
themed steam train. It's a ride through the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's authentic narrow gauge steam engine, and that adds to the authenticity of the experience.
It does. Live action entertainment as well on it. You got train robberies and cowboy shootouts, and they're immersing guests in a Wild West adventure. So this is something that if you're heading to North Carolina, Charlotte to go to Carowinds or something, make a trip to Blowing Rock, North Carolina, and take a ride on the Tweetsie Railroad.
Next up,
the Walt Disney World Railroad.
Would you be mad if I told you there. I've never ridden this?
Ryan, it disappoints me that you have not, but you're going to be going there in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'll be there next week, and we've tried to ride it, but it doesn't close with the park. It closes like at weird times, not necessarily an hour before the park, but like earlier than that. So there have been times.
Make it a priority.
Well, there have been times we've walked to the Main Street station, and we're just about to walk up the steps, and they're putting the chain up and stuff. So we will make it a priority, but it's a classic steam-powered train, that circles Magic Kingdom, offering a relaxing 20-minute journey around the park. It's been a beloved part of the park since 1971, just not a beloved part of my visits, and it embodies the spirit of adventure that Walt Disney himself cherished.
Yeah, you feel that. He wasn't alive, obviously when Magic Kingdom opened, but this is a ride that he would have absolutely loved. Just like the Disneyland Railroad, but it to me it's a can't miss. When I go to Magic Kingdom, I have to ride this once or twice. It's just the engine, the it just looks beautiful. It's a very picturesque, and but it's something that I get excited about when I know I'm going to Walt Disney World. I'm going to go to Magic Kingdom. This is on the bucket list. It's one of the first, rides that I want to do in the early part of the day. I'm going to go do like Haunted Mansion and Peter Pan and get those things knocked out, quickly. But, right around 11:30, 12 o'clock range, right before lunch, I'm definitely taking a ride on this because I don't want to miss it. Like you said, they do, put the chains and things up. It doesn't operate, all hours of the day, all the time. But this one's just a lot of fun and takes you again, kind of circles the perimeter of the park and kind of takes you to those different areas. So you get to save a little bit of time, walking too.
Yeah. Next up, another sweet park. We got, which one is this?
Busch Gardens. This is Busch Gardens Railway in Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. So obviously, when you're talking about, Busch Gardens, you're talking about a beautiful park, right? With all the landscaping and everything and the trees, and this one's no exception.
Yeah, so I have ridden this one. Offers a leisurely tour through the park's theme villages, providing a unique perspective of lush landscape and beautiful architecture. I also like how it does that wide loop to accommodate for that. What's that aero coaster that's not there anymore? Is it Dragonfire or is that no? Dragonfire. Okay. Yeah,
the Dragonfire,
because it looped around Dragonfire, but now Dragonfire's not there, so it loops around nothing. But it is a cool train, and it's a huge route too.
Very huge route. The train includes stops at Scotland, New France, the Festa Italia. It allows guests to explore different areas of the park while enjoying the gentle chug of the steam engine. The ride offers, like many of these do that we're talking about, those picturesque views of the park. This one, it's the park's gardens, the forest, and even glimpses of the Rhine River, making it a relaxing break from the thrill rides and shows.
I think that Busch Gardens Williamsburg is a top 5 at least for best looking parks.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
I think it's such a beautiful park.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong, when you mention like what are the most beautiful parks, in the country or North America, it's certainly, if it's not, number one or two on your list, it's in your top five.
Well, it's contending with, like, I think Animal Kingdom is a really good looking park too. But I would maybe put that over Animal Kingdom, especially with the Rhine
I do,
River
sure.
and all that stuff. But next up, where are we heading? You've never been to this one before.
Well, this one's kind of close to home for you and I, and that's the Kings Island and Miami Valley Railroad at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. It's a ride that I've got over 1,100 rides on. This year, in 28 visits to Kings Island, I rode it every single day that I visited there. It's just, I think the engines, you've got the blue number 12, you got the green 19, which is shown here if you're watching on YouTube. I mean, they're just, awesome looking.
Yeah, so scenic transportation essentially to the water park, but you also get some cool views of other rides and stuff too.
You do. The train ride takes you through a peaceful, wooded settings. You're going to see views of attractions like Whitewater Canyon, Mystic Timbers. The experience is enhanced by the nostalgic sights and sounds of a steam engine, chugging along the tracks. I think, when you think about the sights and sounds of Kings Island, the train, that sound is just kind of woven into the fabric of the park. It wouldn't be Kings Island without the Kings Island and Miami Valley Railroad. That's kind of the first, way that that the spring and summer are here when you hear the train, for the first time. If you work at the park, that first cycle, when they start to do that in March or early April, that gets you excited about a new season, ready to begin. But this one's very special to me, and I think, it was one of the first, I'll say big rides that I rode. I mean, the Racer was my first roller coaster, but this was a big ride, that time when the park opened in 1972. And for a lot of guests, it's their first big ride. And we're talking about all the parks, that for a lot of young kids, it's their first really big attraction.
Well, every kid goes through the train phase. Like I was a little bit past that by the time I visited Kings Island for the first time, but my brother rode the train over and over and over his first visit because he was really into Thomas the Tank Engine. So, oh yeah, it's definitely here for, I mean, it's just such an ingrained part. I love the train. Now, I'm too young to remember the live actors, but I do
Yeah, this
briefly.
one is not the experience. Yeah, it's not the experience that it once was. So from 1972, into the mid 1970s, you had the live, actors, with the Indians and the Cowboys and those kind of, characters out there. But it still had a backstory to it. When you got on the train, there was the audio that kind of told you the story of LaSantaville and, what it would have been like, in the 1800s. Through the different scenes that you had. It kind of looped around the backside of what is now the water park. And when Waterworks opened in 1989, they had to reroute the train a little bit. So it went from being what I would call an experience in terms of, the backstory and the storytelling and all of those kind of things to, more transportation to the water park. They brought a little bit of that back with the town as you're coming back into the station. But it's not the ride that it used to be, but still very special to me.
Yeah, and you say that it was rerouted a little bit. It was rerouted more than flyover. It's 800 feet shorter or so, and the loop skews to the other side because it used to go kind of to the left into the water park.
It went to the left, yeah, to where like the lazy river.
Yeah,
is it went around that way, and it didn't go out as far, like along that fence on the perimeter of the park. There, kind of came shorter on the other side. So yeah, a little bit of rerouting there, but still a fun ride, still must do for me when I go there. And just the sound of it is just kind of just brings back so many memories from my childhood and my teen years and even into my adult life.
See, I used to think that Kings Island's whistle was like so enormously loud until they pulled the whistle when I was standing next to Dollywood Express, and it made my feelings hurt. It was so loud. But that sound of like a train whistle is just it's one of those things where no matter how loud it is, it's like pleasant. I don't know. Moving along.
We got the Worlds of Fun Railroad at Worlds of Fun in Kansas City, Missouri.
Yay. Yeah, so it's a steam train, once again, that offers a leisurely journey through the park, and it's a great way to relax while going through the park's themed areas. Now, it seems like for all of these 13, they're all steam trains, aren't they? You didn't go electric at all.
No, no, these are all steam trains. I think there's a big difference between the steam and the electrics. The
Hmm.
electrics are still okay. They're still fun, still must do's, but um, there's just something about a steam train, and it's something that today you just the opportunity to ride a steam train. Not many people have done that unless you go to an amusement park. But the thing about this one too is that uh, one of the engines used to be at King's Dominion.
Oh, really?
So I think that adds a little bit of, there's a little, trivia thing for you there, a little something that makes it a little bit noteworthy. But yeah, Eli is the train that used to be at King's Dominion.
So, but King's Dominion removed their train long before the Paramount acquisition. So, was that
They
just
did.
sitting
They
around
did.
for a? And how did they get that there? Did they drive it on the railroad tracks? That would be awesome.
You'd ride it up on a flat, just get a crane,
Yeah,
get it up on a flatbed, and that's how you would get it there. But
that's exactly.
uh,
But it would be funny if this was driving
you
down
know,
like the Norfolk and Southern. It's too small of a gauge. I get that, but that would be funny if
yeah,
it
but
was.
this
It's a
one's
train. Put it on the tracks.
but it's one of the signature attractions at Worlds of Fun. You have to do it if you're there. All these rides you have to do it if you're there at those parks. But I like the way the engine looks on this one. I like the stack that it has. I think that's kind of that throwback to the 1800s.
Hmm.
Much like Kings Island's Green 19 has. So I think that it really adds a lot to it. And there's always history with these too. And if most of the parks, while they're boarding or unloading, the engineers, the conductors, and that they love talking about it. So if you have questions on that, most of the time they're pretty open to it. Most of the parks will let you go up and ask a question or take a picture real quick.
Yeah. Next up.
Next up, we have, and this is number 12 on our list, and it's the Tommy G. Robertson Railroad. It's at Six Flags St. Louis in Eureka, Missouri. Um, Another one that I like the way that the engine looks there with the stack. It's very similar again to what we have at Kings Island with this one.
Yeah, it looks like the train cars are almost identical to Kings Island's too, for those of you in that area. But um, it's named after a former park president, Tommy G. Robertson. It's steam powered as the other ones are, and it's a nostalgic experience and a practical way to get around too, I might add.
Yep, circles the park. It's you got those scenic views of the park's natural beauty, including wooded areas and a glimpse of some of the park's major attractions like the Screaming Eagle wooden roller coaster. So Six Flags St. Louis, opened up, in that same era that Kings Island did, and at that time, putting in a steam train ride, that was, one of the staples that she did. But this is can't miss. Again, if you go into Six Flags St. Louis, you have to ride the train.
Absolutely. Next up, this is a good one.
Yes, the one at Knott's Berry Farm, the Calico Railroad. It's in California, out there near Anaheim. Love this one.
Yeah, it takes you on a journey through the Old West, and it's one of the park's original rides, loosely speaking, because the park does have a 100-year history, but it's been around since 1952, so it's not a young gun at this point.
No, it's not. But it has live action scenes with cowboys and bandits, so they're still doing those kind of things with it, making it an immersive experience, not just transportation, but an immersive experience that transports guests back to the days of the Wild West, the authentic steam engines and detailed storytelling. They make this one a must see. You have to do it if you're at Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah, I've always heard, like, you've got accelerator and you've got hang time and stuff, and you always hear about the train as well. All right, last one.
The Serengeti Express, Busch Gardens, Tampa. This
Yeah.
one is another one that is can't miss. It's got a nice looking engine there. The stack's kind of what you would see on the blue number 12 at Kings Island.
Yeah, and you can get really close to the wildlife. That's what I like about this one.
Yeah, you do. You get those up close looks at the things like giraffes and zebras and antelopes. It's a ride that's unique for its combination of relaxing of a relaxing steam train experience. It's an immersive safari adventure, favorite of families, at Busch Gardens Tampa, and it offers 3 different stations. So that allows you to hop on and off, as you explore different areas of the park. So it's an easy way to get around Busch Gardens Tampa.
Yeah. So let's ask the listeners. Put in the comments, how many of these 14 trains have you gotten to ride, and which one is your favorite?
Yeah, and the other thing about it is, think about this. We talked about 14, and 3 of the best are in the state of Missouri.
Yeah. So that's very cool. You can always tweet us at attractions_GRP and let us know what your favorite steam train is. But
now, Ryan, when you go to parks, is that something, obviously you mentioned, Walt Disney World, you've never ridden the train ride there, but when you're planning a visit, do you ever think, like, I'm going to Cedar Point, can't wait to ride the train? Or is it just something you come across and, oh yeah, I'm going to get on that?
I wouldn't downplay it to the point where I say, oh yeah, I'd rather get on that. But if I went to Cedar Point and didn't ride the train, I'd be really disappointed. Like, a trip is not a trip without riding the train there.
Right. So it does enhance your experience.
Oh yeah, no. It's one of my favorites. It's just, I'm trying to be honest here as far as, like, oh, I got to get to Cedar Point to ride that train. And now we're talking about it, I kind of want to do it. But, for the most part, it's, I get to Cedar Point, I see the beach, and I see the roller coasters and the sky ride and stuff. And I'm like, oh, the train, we got to do that, so.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing, too. These parks that we, mention here, but the 14 that have these steam trains, these are very expensive to operate.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most expensive rides in the park. You might not think that, but there's a lot of maintenance, a lot of upkeep. It takes a lot to get these trains going every single morning in all these parks. So it is a commitment. It's a big financial commitment. So for me, I'm thankful that these parks keep these rides going. When you're talking about, you see different parks doing budget cuts and everything, this would be, something that could be easily, cut, that you would say, people can walk to the water park.
Yeah.
People can, just walk to the different areas of the park. And we have seen some parks do that, that have removed their steam train rides, just again for those reasons, because, they were looking to cut budgets and that over the years. But these 14, they understand, the value, the importance, the history, the nostalgia. Guests of all ages can ride it. That's another great thing about it is, you can have, an infant, that's 2 months old, 3 months old that you have at the park, and they can ride, the trains with you. So I think it's, it's something that, you really have to be thankful that the parks, make that commitment to keep these things going, because it's not cheap. I mean, it is a lot of money that gets invested into these every single year.
Yeah, and it's it definitely adds to the feel of the park and stuff, and it would certainly be missed if they ever went away. I hate to see that. All right. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig, and hey, stick around for the Pick Six coming up next.